Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Or actually, no, this is our first podcast. Yay! Yay! This is a new podcast that Kevin Racinos and I, Steve Vargas, starting called the Refined Mindset. So I'm excited. Kevin, you excited?
Yeah, man, I'm really excited.
Well, that didn't sound too exciting, but no, I get it. I can tell. I think you're excited. No, just in case a little background on us. My name is Steve Vargas, part of the Vargas team with River City Elite / Real Broker. I'm also the director of agent growth and agent success with River City Elite.
My name is Kevin. I'm also on the Vargas team, and I'm also in River City Elite / Real Brokerage.
So just a quick introduction there in case people don't know who we are. Now you do. Tell your friends. So our goal though with Refined Mindset is really to get into the mindset to help agents grow. I think, and Kevin, you probably would agree. Mindset is everything. Without mindset, don't matter your skill.
100%. I mean, I go through it every day. I mean, I think about it every day. It's normal. It's normal, like human behavior. So
yeah. What do they say? If you haven't thought about quitting real estate at least once a month, you're not a veteran. So yeah, we all go through that, right? That's the mental run. That's not that's saying, that's someone else's. So let's talk about a little bit about what happened on August 17th of last year. So just a brief summary of what happened in case. I know a lot of agents know, but sometimes consumers don't know. So there was a big class action lawsuit that basically went over the transparency of commissions and how it's structured. And it kind of changed the processes on how agents interact with clients as it relates to that. Is that about right, Kev?
Yes. I mean, and it's something that I hear about all the time. Every time I, interact with a new client, especially the clients that have purchased a home before, they ask, what is this? Like, what is this about? And it's basically you have to disclose your commission, how much you're going to charge. Mm-hmm. And you have to really have an agreement signed with a client before you go out and show properties now.
Yeah. And that's, okay, bro.
I was just going to say versus back then, you that wasn't really needed in place.
Yeah, exactly. And some states didn't, some states when this law came out, they were like, what? A buyer agreement before, where Virginia and Maryland required it. But like you said, Kev, some states they didn't need a buyer agreement until they were ratified, right? That was the procuring person was the one that showed them and got the offer sent in. So that, like Kev said, that was, the big changes is the transparency. Like now we have to articulate, because prior to it, it was in the MLS, right? Whatever the compensation that seller agreed to give to a buyer's agent compensation was already blasted. It was already in the MLS. It was already talked about. Everyone knew. It wasn't really a part of the negotiation, where now we have to advise, look, buyer, we want to work for your best cause, but we also don't work for free, because I wouldn't expect them to work for free. Yeah. So in case we don't get that compensation from the seller, here's what happens. What happens, Kevin? What do you see out there that happens on that side?
I mean, I see there's different scenarios that I've personally ran into already. So this is what can happen. So let's say we have the agreement signed and we sign. I'm not gonna say a number, but let's say at a certain commission.
Yeah, I love that.
And basically, this is what can happen if we go look at a house and you like it. I can ask the seller, hey, how much are you guys offering commission? Or I can just put it into the offer without even asking, right? It's something that they can consider. So 3 different scenarios. 1, yes, they can give you what you're offering. 2, they can say, hey, we'll give you a % of that, but not all of it. Or 3, they just won't, they're not offering any, buyer compensation.
Yeah, no, and you're 1,000%, and it's and the biggest thing, honestly, and I don't want to get too much into why the lawsuit happened and all that. The reality is, and this too, is there are a lot of agents that didn't really understand how to articulate their value, and what the big fuss was, well, why should a buyer's agent get paid that if they don't really, look, basically the seller is going to say, we'll give you an amount, but whether that amount goes to your closing cost help or the agent, you guys figure it out. You figure out what is that value for the agent, right? So the big thing too on the seller side now is, we have to be able to articulate as a listing agent, and this, Kev, is why it's important to offer compensation for a buyer, right? For a buyer's compensation. I mean, what is the stat? How many people are really unrepresented compared to represented?
I mean, it's rare to not be represented. I mean, it's a lot less unlikely for a buyer to be unrepresented. And honestly, if it's something that a seller isn't offering, it kind of blacklists your property in a way where, like, hey, like, if they're not willing to give buyer compensation, especially for first-time home buyers, they're already giving their first time doing a big down payment. They don't have any equity, and they're doing closing costs. It's kind of really just blacklisting your properties for those type of buyers, and it hurts the property at the end of the day.
1,000%. It's funny you say that. Like, prior to August 17th, that's a day that we always have it in our, it's on my calendar. I have a tattoo. Kidding. I don't have a tattoo. It says August 17th. Prior to that date, I've heard agents in New York or let me rephrase. I've heard of the real estate market in New York attempting to do that, where it was, and this is where they've tried to say, okay, sellers, obviously you don't have to offer compensation. And a lot of sellers didn't, and they've noticed the stats that sellers' homes that didn't offer compensation sat a lot longer, right? Because the goal is, if the formula makes sense, we want to open up the market to every buyer. That's going to bring the most, accomplish the goal of the most money, shortest time based on the market condition, right? Have you heard any other stories or anything like that as it relates to the compensation or anything like that?
I've heard, like, I guess you could say some agents are having like trouble getting to sign a client, but I think it really depends on, like, are you doing a good job doing a buyer consultation or buyer discovery, whatever you want to call it. I think that's what really matters the most in this case, and it's something that you got to think about. Like, am I doing the best thing possible to show my value for them to, in the case that they weren't covering buyer compensation and they were able to, like, would they want to give me my value? So it really comes down to, like, hey, am I doing everything in my power to show, like, that I'm doing an amazing job and giving the most value possible?
1,000%. And it's funny, and this, being on the Vargas team in River City, it's if you were to probably take a poll with a lot of agents countrywide, nationwide, whatever you want to call it, maybe international, there's probably a very small percentage. Let me rephrase. I won't say it's less than half, but it's probably close to half that actually sits down with a client prior to showing property, right? A buyer consultation, a buyer appointment. That in alone is not the only value, but that is a big value. It's coming from care and compassion. And, after this August 17th thing, it really emphasized agents who kind of maybe stepped away, maybe never learned it, to really learn that, right? No one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And by sitting down with someone, I mean, you just got off a buyer consultation now virtually, right? Going over the plan is really one of the best values you can provide.
I mean, I honestly think that even prior to this, it's something that should have been done regardless, because one, it removes any doubt from a buyer, and it really gives them a clear pathway of what's going to happen.
Yes. Yeah. I agree. And I think that's the biggest thing is, is agents continue to show value. One of the ways they always say is, if you think you're doing enough, then there's probably more you can do, right? That always have that mindset of, how can I continue to come from contribution, come from care to help, those clients, coming from that point of showing value through the care, right?
Exactly.
What are your any takeaways on moving forward with the whole August 17th thing?
I mean, the major takeaway now, I guess you could say, is that I'm seeing a lot of different, like, I'm seeing a change in the way that it's working out. I'm seeing that instead of, like, let's say I ask an agent, hey, how much are you offering for buyer compensation? I'm starting to see a change where they're just saying, just put it in the contract. They don't they don't want to give out like that number, I guess you could say, or that percentage.
Yes.
Just saying put it in the contract.
Yeah, that's a big thing too, is what we're seeing where the at times the seller saying, hey, look, your client asked for, let's say, 3% subsidy, you asked for 2.5%, that's 5.5%. My sellers countered at 4.5%, and you guys figure it out. And we're seeing that a lot, right? Which is why it's important, going back to that consultation, to go over to setting up the game plan, saving up money if you need, or going over lender credits or whatever it is, right? That's why it's important, so they can be in the best possible position. So I love that. So no, Kevin, this has been great, man. I'm excited for our next chat, like always, on the a refined mindset. Anything you want to share before?
No, yeah, I love doing this. This is fun, and I'm excited. And if any agents have any questions, regarding this, just feel free to hit us up, and we'll give you a response back as soon as possible.
Yeah. Like, comment, subscribe. I mean, and this is not only relates specifically to agents, but consumers, clients, right? Because and sorry to go back on that, but that is a big thing that we've heard is, after August 17th, hey, I heard about this. So like Kev said, any other questions or anything, let us know, and like, comment, subscribe. Have a great day, everyone.
All right.